This is Southern Cross News with Rachel Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Tasmanians would receive free public education under a promise by the State Labor Party. Rebecca White says the election policy pledge will cost $24 million a year. She denies taxes will need to increase as a result, but the Liberals claim it will actually see many students miss out on school extras.
The state's aspiring Premier welcomed with a roar of applause. Addressing her party faithful as Labor officially launched its election campaign.
We have the chance to rebuild our health system, our education system, and ensure that nobody is left behind.
The party's federal leader also making an appearance, backing in his state colleague.
Tasmanians need someone who will stand up for the state, for the communities, for the families.
The party promising to invest in health and change the way public education is delivered.
The majority Labor government will waive school fees for all Tasmanian public school students, delivering a genuinely free public education system in Tasmania.
That promise would take effect from the first term of 2019. Students would also get free bus transport to their closest school. But while the party faithful cheered on the new commitment, the Liberals say it's ripping $100 million out of schools and will only help the wealthy.
We already have some 40% of families that do not pay school fees. Students will miss out on school excursions and other important musical programs, for example. So it's a very, very poor spend of taxpayer dollars.
Labor says the promise would cost $24 million per year.
We will pay for our commitment because we're not doing things that the Liberal Party are doing. We are not committing $340 million to building new prisons. We are not providing $20 million a year to the councils for the takeover of Taswater.
And while banning pokies from pubs and clubs continues to remain a state Labor Party commitment, its federal leader didn't want to weigh in.
I also like a punt. I go to the races. It's a state issue.
I think he owes it to Tasmanians to make a statement. Bill says that he supports the workers. We have 5,100 jobs at risk. We have 1,000 jobs from our members that have been surveyed that would go immediately.
Both major parties' campaigns now in full swing, less than 2 weeks out from polling day. Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
The threat of further outlaw motorcycle gangs establishing in Tasmania is prompting moves to strengthen state legislation. If re-elected, the Liberals are promising to strip criminal bikies of their club colours in an attempt to curb the proliferation of drugs.
A promise to crack down on criminal bikie behaviour. Possibly not the most intimidating. New legislation, however, hoping to send a strong message to outlaw motorcycle gangs involved in the trade of illicit drugs.
Outlaw motorcycle gangs bring with them a range of problems, including the illicit trading of ice, which is wreaking havoc in so many of our communities.
We will ban the wearing of colours in public places, which is at the base of recruitment of drug dealers.
Under the laws, police will have the power to prescribe gangs involved in criminal activity, a recommendation the Minister will take to Parliament for a vote before officially prescribing an outlaw club, stripping them of their colours. Similar laws interstate having an impact on how gangs operate.
The colours are intimidation to start off with. When they walk into a pub all coloured up, it's intimidation. When they ride in their gangs all coloured up, it's intimidation. That's what they work on. They work on intimidation and bluff.
5 established gangs are currently on police radars. The recruitment of young people further embedding the proliferation of the drug ice as mainland gangs look to cement new chapters.
We know there's chapters of the Bandidos about to set up. We know it. So we know there's a gang on the northwest coast that's been there for a long time that's flown under the radar.
Whether it's enough to discourage criminal behaviour is unknown. The Greens pushing for early intervention for vulnerable youth, which they say is being ignored.
Working with people who are addicted or at risk of addiction, providing better early intervention and better treatment facilities, and that is something the Liberals have manifestly failed to do.
We will take advice from Tasmania Police about the best way to tackle this issue. It has to be done based on evidence. It can't just be a political announcement in the lead up to an election.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
A fruit fly fumigation site in Devonport is under investigation after 4 workers fell ill last week. Fumigation activities have been suspended, with the staff potentially exposed to the chemical methyl bromide on Tuesday. The workers were conducting checks on fruit leaving the control zone. One was hospitalised. However, all staff have since returned to work following blood tests. The Department of Primary Industries is investigating the incident alongside WorkSafe Tasmania. A fire that destroyed a car in West Launceston overnight is being treated as deliberately lit. Authorities were notified of the fire on Upton Street around 20 to 10 last night. When fire crews arrived, the front of the vehicle was engulfed in flames. The fire service says the matter has been handed to Launceston's CIB. The car is unregistered. The state's budding ballerinas have been given a glimpse inside the world of the Australian Ballet School. The former principal dancer of the prestigious company today holding a special masterclass in Hobart.
The first official day of training for Tasmania's young ballerinas. Today, a special masterclass by one of Australia's star dancers, Daniel Gordiello, the former principal dancer for the Australian Ballet, giving an insight into the industry.
They actually have to be quite good at picking up things fast, listening to corrections, applying them, and also memory, so much memory involved.
A major coup for the Tasmanian Classical Ballet Company, the internationally recognised dancer helping build technique and style, career-aspiring dancers typically having to travel interstate for specialised training opportunities.
We don't get this very often, and now with the company, we get this a lot more, so it's just amazing.
The number one lesson for young dancers:
at this stage is passion, because of the amount of hours they will have to dedicate to become a professional ballet dancer. You have to have that immense love of the art form.
Passion, he says, is certainly alive in Tasmania.
Great deportment and they're responsive too, which is really important.
My next goal is to hopefully go to a full-time school somewhere in the mainland and see where it takes me.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
25 glamorous Tasmanian women have taken to the runway, vying for a spot in the Miss World Australia final. For many of the women, today was not only a chance to impress the judges, but also an opportunity to help make a difference.
Mostly I also wanted to inspire young Muslims that you can be beautiful wearing your hijab and you can do it like other girls can do it too.
For me, a massive thing last year was self-love and self-worth for myself, so I would really love to inspire that to other young women.
Holly Stearns of Launceston and Magda Gima of Hobart were named Tasmanian state finalists. They'll now go on to compete in the national final in July.
The Tasmanian Tigers have gone from second last to first on the Sheffield Shield ladder following a dominant win over Western Australia. The home side needing just a couple of hours of play today to wrap things up. It all started with a 139-run knock from Matthew Wade, and from there the Warriors were damaged goods.
It's always challenging batting here on day one. In fact, this wicket there was a little bit there all game, which is probably a product of the Duke a little bit. So his innings I thought was very special.
Following a spectacular batting collapse, which saw them all out for a first innings total of 67, the Tigers skipper smelt blood and sent the visitors back into bat. Tom Rogers helping to clean up the order, adding 3 more wickets to his first innings total of 4.
Captain's dream always has a real crack, relishes the job that's given to him, whether with bat or ball.
The home side wrapping things up before lunch, with the win now seeing them on top of the Shield ladder.
Certainly Griff's still talking a bigger picture, so win or lose, we're still talking about the evolution of the cricket team to make sure that we probably are that really consistent side.
The Tigers take on New South Wales next Saturday. Meantime, the women couldn't make it 2 from 2 for the Tasmanian sides today, going down to the ACT at the Twin Ovals. Corinne Hall doing her best to help the Roar along and notching up 60 runs not out off 80 balls, but her efforts weren't enough to get near the visitors' 246-run total, with Tassie all out for 160. New AFL Tasmania CEO Tricia Squires has made a bold statement today, outlining a series of demands to AFL House and its CEO Gillan McLachlan in an attempt to resolve the issues facing football in the state.
My second demand is that the working group is formed around this and that Gil McLachlan is on that working group and that the first committee meeting is held in Tasmania in the near future.
Squires has been in the job just 2 weeks, but says she's fully committed to ensuring the sustainability of the Tasmanian State League, which recently lost 2 teams from the competition due to lack of player numbers. Melbourne distance runner Lisa Waitman has smashed her own course record in this morning's Run the Bridge event, with thousands taking part. In the men's, it was a familiar face across the line first, with Liam Adams claiming his 4th win in the event.
Waitman hadn't ran the event for a few years, but there were certainly no signs of rust as the 2-time Olympian crossed the line 35 seconds ahead of her own course record.
I wasn't focused on that. I was just focusing on my rhythm and just wanting to feel strong and know that I had enough to sprint at the end if I had to, if one of the boys started chasing me.
The 39-year-old holding out a strong contingent of internationals, making easy work of Australia's richest 10-kilometre road race as she now shifts her focus to April's Commonwealth Games.
It's fantastic to get a bit of confidence, and I ran here in 2012 and then went on to run well at the Olympics. So so if history can repeat itself, then I'm looking forward to the Gold Coast.
Liam Adams never looked troubled in the men's race, extending his gap on the field across the Tasman before taking out his 4th Run the Bridge title.
I was a little bit distracted by some external factors, and I think that kind of affected my pace and my concentration towards pushing towards the finish line. So quite disappointed in that, but 29.15 is not too bad.
Adams will now look to manage his workload off the track before chasing Com Games silverware on the Gold Coast.
That type of speed for marathon training is good, so it's not too bad. It shows that I'm in pretty good shape and tracking along well for Commonwealth Games.
Organisers hailing the event the biggest and best yet, with record numbers of more than 3,600 people competing.
And Steve Glennie and Andy Sarandis are the newest Targa Northwest champions, with the pair extending their overnight lead during today's final 5 stages. Glennie and Sarandis also taking victory in the GT4 category by a comfortable 10-minute margin. Paul Stokel and Jason Page were too good in the GT2 category, claiming honours in their Porsche GTS, while Michael and Daniel Bray's 1975 Holden Tirana made easy work of the classic GT field, as Tony Quinn and Kate Catford claimed bragging rights in their Porsche 911 in the early moderns.
Good evening. Hobart 19 today, Launceston and Burnie 22, Devonport 21. Certainly feeling like a season change is on the way, with the state's top at 23 today in Eddiston and the low being a 5 at Mount Wellington. Wynyard not far behind the top with 22, St Helens, Bushy Park and Flinders all on 21, Friendly Beaches and King Island 20, Strawn 16 and Lyawini struggling there with a 14. To the satellite, a cold front is crossing Tasmania with some open cell cumulus clouds behind the front moving in from the southwest. Tropical cyclone Kelvin is impacting the Kimberley region with storms and rainfall along the northwest coast, while spiralling cloud can be seen along the east of the country due to tropical cyclone Gita. Up close, thin high-level cloud is over most of the state, with low-level cloud just visible underneath. Tomorrow, a high-pressure system will extend over Tasmania throughout the day while a cold front approaches the Bight. Tropical cyclone Kelvin will continue to impact the northwest of the mainland, while tropical cyclone Gita will continue its journey into the Tasman Sea. On the waters, south to southeasterly winds to 20 knots, reaching 25 knots in the north, seas to 3 metres in the west and south. There are currently no warnings for Tasmania. Tomorrow, 21 for Ooze, mostly sunny, Hobart 18, Dover 17, clearing cloudy in Launceston 23, Devonport 23, Scottsdale 22, Strawn sunny 23, Burnie 22 and Stanley 20, and cloudy about the east with St Helens on 19, Swansea 18 and Ross 21. The UV for tomorrow is very high statewide.
The 3-day forecast has some cloud about the east on Tuesday, mostly fine elsewhere. Wednesday, fine, mostly sunny with some light winds moving in. And Thursday, fine and sunny with light winds. Around the country tomorrow, Perth, mostly sunny, 29. Adelaide, 30. Darwin, storms with 31. Melbourne, a clearing shower, 24. Sydney, late showers, 27.
Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Have a happy and safe week. I'm Rachel Williams. Good night.